where would the big four Saudi Pro League teams finish in the Premier League? It's a hypothetical question that comes up quite a lot, and I think it's probably more relevant than ever after how Al Hilal beat Manchester City being one of the strongest, best teams in the Premier League. It seems to be pretty prevalent right now to discuss and have this conversation. Now, I'm going to be as fair as possible. I'm not going to be saying things that I don't think are completely crazy or anything like that. It's not my style. I'm a fair guy. But one thing I do know is that many of the Premier League team fans, I'm thinking West Ham, Wolves, Everton, Palace, who maybe I might be placing below Saudi Pro League teams, little clue for you there, they will have an opinion based on the fact that they watch their club and they like their club and what have you. But they don't watch any Saudi Pro League football. I watch the Premier League product and I watch the Saudi Pro League product, and this is an honest assessment of where I think these teams will finish, and I'm going to be exceptionally fair throughout. So what I'm going to do is I'll put the league table on here. I'm going to take Leicester, Ipswich and Southampton, who finished in the bottom three this year, because I do think all the Saudi Pro League teams are better than those three. I'm going to take those three out and I'm going to replace them with the four. Now, I completely understand if Al Qadsiya fans watching this might think, where are we? We finished in the top four. I'm going to go with Ahli because they've had more investment. I think Qadsiya are going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. Ahli did finish fifth, but they did also win the Champions League. So I think, that is quite a big, fair reflection on the fact that why they should be in this rather than Qadsiya. But let's see Qadsiya, I think, are going to get stronger and stronger, no doubt. Ahli needs to do better in the league this year, but because they won the Champions League, I think they have to be in there. So I'm going to start with Al Ahly because they finished fifth. Now, if you look at their team, they've got Ivan Toney up front. Now, a team like Brentford, for example, were unable to keep Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney, yes, there would have been financial reasoning behind it, no doubt. But Ivan Toney obviously thought this was a bigger move for him. He decided that rather than going up into the Brightons, Villas, Newcastles, even Arsenal, I'm an Arsenal fan, I would have taken Ivan Toney up front. I definitely would have taken him. He's gone to Ahli out in the Saudi Pro League. Now, yes, again, money, yes, there is a big project there. Ivan Toney was fantastic last season, but that's got to be relevant, right? Because if Ivan Toney's more likely to move there, probably other players such as Frank Kessie, such as Mahrez. Mahrez would never go into the mid-table of the Premier League from Manchester City. It just wouldn't happen. Okay, he would have gone off to Europe, a big club in Europe, or he would have gone somewhere like the Saudi Pro League. Okay, I'm looking at players like Demaro at the back. I'm looking at players like Edouard Mendy, who played for Chelsea and was pretty successful at Chelsea, by the way. Chelsea have never really replaced him. They've tried to go with Robert Sanchez recently, nowhere near as good as him. If you look at Brentford, who finished 10th in the league, that Ahli could probably finish above Brentford. Now, I'm going to be a little bit conservative here because there are teams like Manchester United and Tottenham who are in a position where at 17th and 15th, I actually think Ahli are better than Manchester United, but I think Spurs could be better this season under Thomas Frank. So I'm going to put Ahli in 12th place, sort of just below Brentford. I think they finish above Everton. I think they finish above West Ham. If you look at West Ham, whose best player by far is Jared Bowen, well, Mahrez is a better footballer than Jared Bowen, even now. If you look at centre forward, Ivan Toney's better than the West Ham centre forwards. And yes, every team has slightly weaker players, and you could argue that some of the Ahli players might be weaker than some of the West Ham weaker players. But I do believe the star power would shine through, and Ahli would finish above West Ham over the course of the season. So I'm going to put Ahli in 12th. Okay, 12th place, I think is a fair assessment for those guys. Let's go to Al Nassr. Okay, they finished third in the Saudi Pro League, of course. The big superstar of Al Nassr is Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, I think if you look at his performance at Manchester United 3 years ago, he was actually the third top goal scorer in the Premier League that year. Manchester United were actually 5th or 6th at that time. They've plummeted to 15th since. Now, I'm not saying it's just Cristiano Ronaldo. There's lots of things that aren't right at Manchester United. And then I look at players like Laporte, who was at Man City, and I think most Manchester City fans, okay, they are blessed with a lot of good centre-backs, but no one was asking for Laporte to leave. I don't think any Man City fans were thinking that Laporte was someone who, wasn't good enough for Manchester City. Sadio Mane is an Al Nassr player. I don't think that Liverpool would ever wanted to sell Sadio Mane. He went via Bayern Munich, but that ended quite abruptly. I think most Liverpool fans would even now take Sadio Mane back. So there's three players there who are like the big stars of this team, where you think, okay, well, where would we look at John Duran, who looks like he's going to be leaving Nassr soon, but he left Aston Villa. Aston Villa's finished 6th in the Premier League last year. Okay, they've got Ollie Watkins, but it was very, very close between John Duran and Ollie Watkins. So again, I'm not going to put, because John Duran went to Nassr, that Nassr would finish above Villa. I don't think they would finish in the top 6. Okay, I don't. I think Cristiano Ronaldo is a wonderful footballer. I think Cristiano Ronaldo would get 20 plus goals in the Premier League even now. But I think, bear in mind, Nassr's quite shaky defensive displays. Even though Laporte's in there, they need to improve that defence. I think players like Brozovic would absolutely get into any top 10 Premier League club. I think Mane, Ronaldo, absolutely would. John Duran would. So I'm going to put Al Nassr in 10th place. I think they would finish mid-table. They finish just above Ahli. Even though Ahli won the Champions League, I do think Nassr, they seem to get laughed at quite a lot, but I think they have got quality players there. I think they will be in the top 3 again this year in the Saudi Pro League. So I'm going to put them 10th because I do think maybe teams like certainly Newcastle, Villa, Chelsea would finish above them. I think Spurs would finish in the top 10, and then you're looking at maybe teams like Brighton would still finish above them as well. And obviously you've got the sort of the Arsenals and Man Cities and Liverpools above them as well. So I'm going to put them around 10th, okay? And the reason I'm putting them 10th is because the other 2 Saudi Pro League teams will be finishing in the top 10. I'm going to go to Al Ittihad next. Now, Ittihad won the league. They got players like Benzema, who, let's face it, would still score a lot of goals in the Premier League. They've got players like Moussa Diaby, who never really got a chance at Aston Villa, but he's a wonderful, wonderful footballer. Steven Bergwijn, who some Premier League fans would look at and go, well, you didn't do anything in the Premier League. Well, at Spurs, actually, I'm an Arsenal fan. I always quite feared Steven Bergwijn. I thought he had quality. I thought he had goals in him, and he's proven that on many, many occasions. But he never really got to run the team because Son Heung-min played ahead of him, and that's fair enough. But Steven Bergwijn's an excellent footballer. N'Golo Kante, who is still one of the best defensive midfielders, box-to-box midfielders in the world. He still is. He still plays for France. He's still winning things for France. And N'Golo Kante is a player who any Premier League club would still have. I can really, really guarantee that. He went to the league with Leicester, won the league in his first season there, went to Chelsea, won the Champions League with Chelsea, won World Cups, as I say. And N'Golo Kante would still do a great job for many, many. You ask any Premier League fan now, N'Golo Kante would still get in that team. And he is a difference maker. He's a big, big, big difference maker, as has been proven when he's been fit this season at Ittihad. Fabinho, again, their midfield. It's got a lot better recently. I think Gravenberch this season actually, did make them a lot better, but they never really replaced Fabinho until Gravenberch came through that sort of holding midfield position. McAllister and Szoboszlai are very different footballers. Again, not saying that Ittihad would be anywhere near Liverpool, but Fabinho was a big player for them. And yeah, I would actually say, and I would say this quite comfortably, that I believe that Ittihad would finish in the top 8. I'm going to place them at 7th. I think they're better than the likes of Forest. I know Forest had a good season. I think they are better than Bournemouth. I think they are better than Brent. Bournemouth aren't going to attract the Benzema, and the money. And I'm not going to go down the road of like if they had the Saudi money in the Premier League, because that wouldn't be the case because of financial fair play. But I do believe Ittihad have the star power to outshine consistently the likes of Brighton, Forest, Bournemouth, Brentford. Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, I think are probably on that next tier above. But talking about that next tier above, Al Hilal, who have just got a fantastic result against Man City. Now, of course, one result is great for bragging rights, but it doesn't actually mean you're better than the club. I do think City, Arsenal, Liverpool would be stronger than Al Hilal. But could Al Hilal finish in the Champions League? Could they finish 4th? With the likes of Ruben Neves, with the likes of Milinkovic-Savic, with the likes of Salem Altazari, Malcolm. I think Malcolm would be a wonderful Premier League footballer. The Premier League has been blessed with having lots of players who play on the right and cut in on their left foot. Iron Robin, Mo Salah, Bukayo Saka. And it seems to be a position that really those sort of players thrive. And I don't know why. I think it's a sort of tricky one for left-backs to navigate, particularly when left-backs are going forward so much these days. But I look at Koulibaly, who, yes, was not a success at Chelsea, but how many big players have not been success at Chelsea? I think Koulibaly is a brilliant player. Bunu would be one of the best goalkeepers in the league. I do believe Bunu is better than Emi Martinez. I think he's better than Nick Pope. I think he's better than Roberto Sanchez. You're going into sort of David Raya, Alisson and Ederson territory, probably not quite that level. So, on a goalkeeper basis, when a goalkeeper is probably the most important position on the pitch. Mitrovic got lots and lots and lots of goals for Fulham. Fulham finished 11th this year. I think he's probably the standard above that. I think Mitrovic would be a really, really good asset in this league. I think Milinkovic-Savic, Neves are top 4 players. I really do. So I'm going to put Al Hilal in 4th. I think they would finish 4th. I think it'd be toe-to-toe with Chelsea. Chelsea are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So next season, who knows? But based on last season, Chelsea lost 9 games. They had they got 69 points. I would back Hilal to get more than 69 points in a Premier League campaign. I think they've got that capability of putting lots of results together quite quickly. And also what's been very, very interesting about the Club World Championship is that Al Hilal, and I think of Tottenham are like this a little bit. Tottenham really struggle against a low block, okay? They play attacking football and the low block kind of gets them. And it just showed, but when Spurs went more conservative against a Manchester United or indeed a Man City, they can get great results against them. So I think Al Hilal do suffer a little bit in the Saudi Pro League because everyone just plays super defensive against them. And the type of players they've got, Milinkovic-Savic, not so much Malcolm, but they're not necessarily the most creative in the middle of the park, okay? They tend to be a bit more just industrious and box-to-box Mitrovic, Whereas again, when they are in the low block, when they are playing the defensive football, as was proven against Man City, as was proven against Real Madrid, they're actually extremely dangerous on the counter-attack. And Hilal would have the opportunity to do that in more Premier League games. And teams like Chelsea struggle against teams with a low block. So I would actually think that Al Hilal, because they would be able to change their tactics a little bit, because they wouldn't have to be so much on the front foot all the time, I think they'd actually thrive in the Premier League on that counter-attacking basis. Because I think defensively, with the likes of Cancelo at left-back, Lodi, and maybe soon to be Theo Hernandez soon, I think they're very strong at the back. They've got a strong middle of the park from Milinkovic-Savic and Altasari and Neves, and they've got superb pace on the wide areas, and they've got a predator up front. I do believe that Al Hilal would finish 4th in the Premier League. So do you agree with that? I'm basically pitching Al Hilal for the Champions League. I'm pitching Al Ittihad for the Europa League. And I think Ahli and Nassr will finish just outside, but pretty much the top half. That is where I think these teams are finished. I don't think any of them will get relegated. I think they're better than the lower end, the Wolves, the Evertons, the West Hams. I think they're better than those sides. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be really interested to hear. So maybe some Saudi fans might think they'll finish higher. I think that's a fair analysis, but really, really keen to hear what everyone's got to say. It will never happen. We'll never know. But as somebody who watches the Saudi Pro League product and watches the Premier League, I think that's a pretty fair analysis of what it would end up like. And the problem the Premier League has is that the stronger the Saudi Pro League gets, and I mentioned in my last video, do check out my last video about why the result against Man City was so big for Saudi Pro League football, the respect factor. And if the Saudi Pro League is allowed to get players across, the finances are never going to be a problem, but that respect factor starts to go into the Saudi Pro League over the course of the next 5-10 years, then those Saudi Pro teams are going to get stronger and maybe would all finish in the top 6 eventually. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.